one question that I get asked a lot, and I think people on the line will also get this question, is why is IP audio more expensive compared to traditional analog audio? How do you approach that question with the customer? You're on mute, buddy.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, and it's a very common question, and one of the things that we need to realize in here and make sure to set the expectation for the customer, even though both devices, the analog and the IP, can produce audio as an output, we are not comparing apples to apples. When we're talking about IP audio, really we are talking about a device that is basically a computer that happens to make sounds with the speaker. So really in here we are having a smart device that we can not only do paging or we can do background music, but we are also going to be able to use it as a sensor, right? So some of our speakers come integrated with a presence sensor that will use it to trigger any events on motion or messages on demand. We are able to also install audio analytics inside of these devices. So now, in addition to having audio out, we're also going to be able to analyze the information coming from the environment, such as aggression detection or gunshot detection or glass break detection. So when it comes to applications in healthcare, when it comes to applications in security, these are going to be a big differentiator compared to a traditional speaker. When we have customers that they need to have flexibility in the way they are communicating these messages. For instance, instead of communicating a message across a whole set of classrooms, instead of that, you only want to communicate per classroom or only inside of the hallways or only inside of the cafeteria. With network audio, everything is digital. Therefore, now you're going to be able to create those digital zones and create those groups that are virtual, not hardwired. If we were talking about audio, traditional audio system, the only way to do that is by actually cabling by hand those speakers that you want to work together. Now, when it comes to the audio quality, there is also a difference, because when we have traditional analog systems, all the cabling comes in analog, the signal comes in analog. So if we have any lights, any generators, anything that can produce noise, that is going to be translated into a hiss on the audio. So you're going to hear the audio, but you're also going to hear the noise that comes with that. When we're talking about IP audio, everything is clean because everything travels in digital all the way to the endpoint where the speaker actually becomes the analog device that translates that digital signal. And finally, if we're talking about a critical infrastructure application or any application in which you want to make sure that anytime you want to use those devices, those audio devices, those are working, we have a way to validate that the system is working, the speaker actually is working, and we create those automatic or manual health tests. If there is an application in which you really need to know that those devices are always up and running, that can also be a plus for you, because if those are not working, you as a system integrator and service provider can be aware of those and then provide a better service to your customer and say, Mr. Customer, I know this device is not working. I need to take care of it. I need to make sure that it's working. So when anything happens, now you will know that this is going to be a reliable system. So as you can see, there is a big difference between analog audio and IP audio. And that is the reason why there is a difference in price as well.
That's a great answer, Rodrigo. Great answer. One thing I'm going to develop on is, so Rodrigo, can you give a few use cases where the new bidirectional audio can be used on the speaker? I think it's a great advantage to our speakers.
Yeah, absolutely, Robert. And in here, the speaker obviously is going to have one-way audio, which means that a person probably on a remote side is going to send a message, or maybe a pre-recorded message is going to start playing on the speaker, and that is one-way audio. But when the person is on the other end and they hear the message, if there is a need for that person to communicate back, now they're going to be able to establish a conversation with the monitoring person, right? So an example of these could be to provide directions, right? If someone is probably lost or is just loitering or is just standing in an area, now the person that is looking at the cameras can tell the person, hey, can we help you? Or you are not supposed to be here. You need to leave this area right now. So now the person can reply and say, I'm sorry, I'm lost. I don't know how I got here. And could you tell me how to get to the main entrance or to the registration booth? Oh yeah, so you need to go out from this door and then go around, right? So now the benefiting here is that number one, you can understand really what is happening in the whole situation. Number two, are going to be able to direct, to provide some instructions, some direction, and also get some feedback from the person on the other end, right? It could also be a situation, God forbids, that is more of a threatening situation, and that person feels that needs help, that needs some assistance. Hey, there is an emergency in here. A person just fell down the stairs, and we need someone to come, right? So now there is a way for that monitoring person to pick up the phone, call 911, or take the proper direction based on that information coming from the person, right? So these two-way communication out opens the doors as well to establish a conversation. You don't have to have those microphones hanging from the ceiling or connected into a camera. Usually the challenge in here is when you have a camera is the worst place to have a microphone, because usually cameras want to look at most of the area, whereas microphone, you want to put it as close as possible to the person, right? So then now having a speaker will help you to deal with this challenge.